Okay, greetings everyone. This is First Centurion 753 with a new series from Hearts of Iron 4. And in this series, this was a request from one of my subscribers, Matthew's gaming channel. And I'm honoring the request as I try to honor requests of all subscribers if I can. And this game, I was thinking about doing something actually with the Allied powers, either with France or Britain. And I wanted to do sort of like an unappeasing Britain or an unappeasing England, whatever. I don't know which one sounds better yet. But from what we know about history, this guy right here, Neville Chamberlain, history has not looked well upon him. He is basically seen as like the biggest, blunderer that led to World War II, basically. I think it was 1938, 1939, the Munich Conference. I think it was March of 39, I want to say, which was to decide the fate of a particular area of Czechoslovakia called the Sudetenland. This will come up in the game. This area right here, which happens to be very mountainous, actually, and actually kind of defends Czechoslovakia geographically, kind of on all sides. It's almost like a valley, and there's another number of ethnic Germans living in that area because they were right on the border of Germany and Austria, which had already been annexed by that time. And Hitler was demanding that the land be ceded to Germany. And it was funny that at the conference there was Hitler, Mussolini, Neville Chamberlain, and the leader of France. I forgot his name. This guy, Daldier. They basically agreed, without the leader of Czechoslovakia, that part of Czechoslovakia will go to Germany. And that's seen as, that's like the appeasement moment. They had been appeasing Germany since Hitler came in the 1930s. This area right here, the Rhineland, according to the Treaty of Versailles, is supposed to be demilitarized, and they allowed Hitler to militarize it. I think that's going to come up in 1936. That's going to be our first decision. And I've done a sort of a playthrough with France for about a year. And I was able to deny that. I don't know if I'll be able to do that with England or not. There's like it could go. I don't know. There's like chances it could go one way or the other. But I'm going to try to basically deny all the appeasement. I'm going to try to prevent Austria from getting annexed, which happens, I think, in 1937. And I'm going to try to contain basically German aggression and all aggression around the world, I guess. The British are kind of like the dominant power in the world at this time. If you want to look, I am going to do this is a strategic overview, so I'm just going to kind of go over everything. But I think it was 1922 when the British Empire was at its largest, and if you look right here, Britain controls all this area, Africa, parts of West Africa. This area right here is actually pretty strategic because it has 112 aluminum, and I'm going to use that in some of my other games. Caribbean holdings in Canada, as well as holdings throughout the Pacific and the Indian Island. And I like the naval view, actually. The naval view gives you a better view of your faction, kind of. It's all the green land as well as the blue. So that's all part of, the British faction. And I think it was true in 1929, the sun actually did not set on the British Empire. If you want to, that old saying there, the sun doesn't set on the British Empire, I think it was actually true because the sun was shining on some British land somewhere in the world. So a lot of people, you guys probably all know this stuff, but those of you who don't, here's a little history lesson for you. To go over strategy, taken like 2 days to kind of like analyze the whole British situation. It's pretty interesting. The national focus tree is one of the most complex national focus trees in the game. I haven't played as the United States or Germany yet, and I kind of looked at Germany's at one point, I think, either watching some other video or I might have just looked at it. I've kind of looked at the United States too on my own, and they seem to be pretty complex. Russia's probably as complex too, but Britain is definitely the most complex one that I've seen. I've played with Japan. Actually, I don't know. Japan had a lot, but there seems to be more with Britain. As always, and I kind of charted things out along with a research chart. That's how obsessed I get with some of these games. First thing I'm going to go for is this nice little one over here, the cryptological bomb. I'm actually just going to go ahead and click that because I've already decided I'm going with that. The Poles have been developing a brilliant machine they call the cryptological bomb, which can break German Enigma ciphers. We have the resources to develop it further at our Bletchley Park facility. Uh-oh. What happened there? Oh my god. Well, that changes the whole strategy. Okay. I didn't look at that. I looked at everything else, but I didn't notice that that was not available. Okay. Well, the next step was limited rearmament, so we're going to go with that. I can't believe that. So you have to be at war with Germany to get that. Alright, that makes a little more sense. That's going to change a lot of things. Okay. I have a lot more to think about. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this rest of this episode to go over the rest of my plans, other than my research and national focus plans. Again, we're playing as Un-appeasing Britain, so we're going to try to, any opportunity you get to thwart aggression, fascist aggression, maybe even communist aggression. Communists aren't too aggressive. We'll try to stop that. England, however, is restricted because they are a democracy, and if you go into their laws, this causes problems. We don't have any political power at the time, right now. But as far as the economies are concerned, a lot of these options, you need to either be fascist or communist. And so, if those of you just watching this have never had any experience with Hearts of Iron, I would recommend playing as a fascist or communist country first, before you played as a democracy. Because the civilian economy, the consumer goods, consume 30% of your factories, and the construction speed is reduced by 30% for both of them, so that just really hurts. Partial mobilization helps out a lot. But if you are a democracy and you're not at war, you have to have a world tension of at least 15%. Early mobilization is possible with a world tension rate of 5%, so we're going to try to get that as soon as possible, because that will reduce consumer goods consuming factories by 5%, and it will speed up the construction of those factories a lot. So that is going to be probably our first target as far as political power, hoping that by time we have enough political power, and there are no political power focuses in national focuses with England, some of the other countries you get like 150 political points with one of the national focus. That's not the case here. In fact, the national focus is really costing us 1 per turn, so I guess it'll be 150 days. So that's going to be halfway through the year. Spanish Civil War should start by then. And I don't know what other tension might happen. But hopefully, if not, then there are other options I can go for. Oh, you know what one I really want to do first, actually? The political advisor. The silent workforce. This silent workforce will give you a bonus, 15%. Political point bonus. So that will probably be the first one if I can't do partial mobilization. He might be first over partial mobilization, actually. So research I have to rethink because I didn't realize I wasn't going to get that cryptic bomb, so I actually had a real detailed chart. Probably just can switch one thing, really. Not gonna, I'll get into that later. But the national focus tree will probably go right for that extra research slot. I think we'll go right down that line. Shadow scheme really won't help us too much. Oh, you know what? And we also need 5% world tension here. Wow. Okay, there's a lot I didn't look at. So, if we don't get that, we'll probably end up doing reinforcing the empire. Increase national unity, but it'll get us down this line because my strategy is going to be to protect the Asian holdings. The biggest advantage England has is in resources. They have huge surpluses of resources. They're not deficient in anything. Oil is a little weak. They are exporting a lot of it. They have to export a lot according to their economy because they are, or their economic law. trade wall because they have an export focus. So 50% of the resources do need to move. It would be good to probably get rid of this and knock it down to limited resources. Although that will slow down civilian. That will slow down construction speed and factory output. So I don't want to do that right away, actually. I want to try to hold on. It also slows down research. So we'll try not to do that, actually. But the resources are very valuable. Let's take a look at the resource map real quick. Again, a lot of the resources are coming right through the Gibraltar Strait and the Suez Canal. And cutting those off, I don't know the impact of that, actually. I always assumed that it had some sort of impact. I know, like, historically it would have had a big impact. But how much impact does it have in the game as far as further distance from supply? I'm not sure. I don't know the whole supply calculations yet. If anyone has that information, feel free to post it down below. Most of England's steel and aluminum, tons of aluminum, which has been such a difficulty for me in the Japanese game that I'm playing and other games, because aluminum is rare on this map. England's got a lot of it, so we're going to build up a huge air force, I think, in this game. Tons of steel in England as well, and decent amounts of chromium. There's also a ton of chromium down here in Africa that they have. Well, hopefully we can keep that flowing. Oil is not that plentiful in the Middle East yet. I guess it hasn't been really tapped in the 1930s as much as it is today. There's more aluminum out here in Guyana, and I'm probably going to deploy at least one division out there for defense. We have some oil from Trinidad, which is nice. And most of the resources are actually over here in East Asia. There's 116 rubber in Ceylon. We've got Singapore right here, Malaysia. That's the crown jewel. It really is. That's the gold nugget right there. Tungsten is at 308. Rubber's at 848. And steel at 32. That is amazing. And then there's also more rubber and oil out here in Borneo. Oil, I guess, is kind of short. We could possibly build some synthetic oil refineries, but we have so much rubber, we don't really need the rubber part. So my strategy is going to be basically to defend here. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do it like a defensive strategy. And I had different ideas for this. Starting with the national focus. After I get to that research slot, the next line is going to be moving down to, well, there's a couple things. I do want to move down into fortify Asia and to work my way down into the Singapore strategy, land fortifications and peninsula war, to try to contain things. Hong Kong, I don't think I'm going to put the defense of line there. I think Hong Kong's a tough one to hold on to. That's like a stretch. But I do want to try to support China as much as possible. So I am going to try to get down to this military training act early on too, because this will allow me to send volunteers. And I can't do it until 1938. But I do want to try, if China can survive until 1938, I want to try to send them some volunteers. I'm also going to probably send them some Lend-Lease to help supply them against Japanese. And Lend-Lease, I need to have 50% world tension. So that's going to be tough to get to, actually. And same thing with volunteers. So I'll try to help them if I can. If I can contain... I don't know, can I guarantee their independence? I can't guarantee their independence. Unless there is 24 political power and 25% world tension. That... I'm not sure. They might already be at war by the time we get to 25% world tension. I possibly could guarantee the independence of some of these warlords out here, which is, but some of these states, this one especially, because there's tons of resources down there. If I can hold the line there, and Hong Kong is right there, actually. So maybe I can help protect some of these warlords. These Chinese warlords. and preserve their independence. British Raj is right out here, so there's a big allied force here. So maybe we'll be able to do that. So my focus is going to be there, and because of that, I think my focus is mostly going to be defensive. So the first division I'm going to put together here is going to be a defensive division. And I had some ideas for how to put together these divisions. I'm probably going to focus a lot on artillery if I'm going to go defense. I think I'm going to focus on defense. I already have a huge navy. And focusing on defense is kind of contradictory to World War II, because World War II was an offensive war. But I'm going to try to use my navy, which is enormous. Only 4 carriers, not a lot of carriers. Battleships. These are more advanced battleships. We've got about 12 battleships here, 3 battle cruisers, 16 heavy cruisers, 30 light cruisers, 128 destroyers, and 42 submarines. So a lot of the naval focus will be anti-submarine, but I do want more aircraft carriers, and I'll probably try to deploy the aircraft carriers out here in the Pacific to go up against the Japanese, because the Germans will be deploying submarines, and I'm going to go ahead and use destroyers and all types of destroyer doctrine, anti-submarine doctrine, to take them on. So to the divisions. Let's see here. We don't have any. We can't add anything right here. That's unfortunate. So we have to wait till we get experience before we can add divisions. Because I wanted to build up some strong defensive divisions. Tank division. This is really a tank brigade. There's only 3, I guess, battalions in there. Same thing with the cavalry. Nope, I don't want to do that. Back it up. Cavalry only has 3 battalions, or 4 battalions, and they have recon. Colonial garrison. Yeah, that's weaker. So I guess my best bet would be to build these infantry divisions, but my manpower is really low. So I'm actually going to hold off on that right now. And there's reinforcements and some upgrades that we have to work on. So we're going to hold off on that. So let's go ahead to construction. Construction focus is going to be on military and civilian factories. We're also going to want air bases, naval bases, and some defensive weapons, radar. We already have, as far as radar stations, there's already radar stations here in southern England, which is good. Probably want to add some more up in central England, but not yet. Anti-aircraft guns, we definitely want to fully load them here down in these southern Sussex and Cornwall. Is that Cornwall and East Anglia? And I'm definitely going to want to put even more. We're going to need a lot of anti-aircraft weapons. But before that, we need to boost our industrial capacity, and we're going to need resources, because we are going to want. We're going to need military equipment, because we are going to want to be able to supply people with equipment. So England is probably going to get bombed. So we have to assume that's going to happen. So we're going to start, building up in Scotland, basically, to keep the factories away. But there's also Caribbean factor. There's some industrial capacity in the Caribbean. Now, at one point, the United States does take over some of these bases, which is a little bit of a concern, but maybe we can prevent that from happening too. So let's go ahead and build our first military factory in Jamaica. Jamaican me crazy. Sorry. Let's see. So Jamaica's going to get a military factory. Civilian factory, I think we'll bring it back home and drop it in northern Scotland up here. So there we go. And that's our construction strategy for now. It's been about 20 minutes, and I've been, I know I've rambled on a little bit. I apologize. It's going to take me a while to get things started here. But I'm going to put an end to this episode here, and we'll continue into the next one. I hope you guys like it. Please, like the video if you have, and subscribe to the channel. And thank you for watching.